first Minister for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation in South Africa was also the first Minister for Public Works in the democratic South Africa. He also served the country as the Minister for Public Enterprise, Minister for Transport, and Minister of Justice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor, and I want to invite you in sharing this honor to request on behalf of the South African Statistics Council, the true servant of the nation, the Minister for Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation, the Honorable Minister Jeff Radebe, to formally open the symposium. Bungas.
Thank you. The Director of the Program, the Chairperson of Statistics Council, Mr. Ben Pashele, members of the Council, our very distinguished international guests and speakers, the Statistician General, Mr. Paddy Lehohla, Directors General present, distinguished African Union delegates, African Union Commission, Economic Commission for Africa, esteemed guest from the Development Bank, African Development Bank, Dr. Mark Okin, who is the former head of States SA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me firstly to express my own gratitude for allowing us to engage with you on this very important occasion that promises to be a watershed event in our land. This watershed session is a culmination of a chain of important, groundbreaking, and systematically gigantic efforts in the quest to deliver a better life for the people of South Africa. Spanning just about 2 decades, these efforts are as old as our new constitutional democracy. Today marks a moment of great promise as we host and welcome you, especially our esteemed international guests and speakers, to South African shores. This great promise is anchored on our sacred and valued covenant that commits us all as South Africans to a better South Africa, in a better Africa, and in a better world. In certain cases, when people of your caliber are gathered, the hope for an Africa rising is rekindled. I'm aware that those who are concerned with the pursuit of evidence-based knowledge, such as statisticians and mathematicians, are often ridiculed as a class of brainiacs, clever Joes, and so forth. In many anti-intellectual references, these monikers are not very kind because they present a different class of people far removed from the mainstream. It is only when we seriously engage with statistics that we, in government in particular, are decrying the opportunity cost of our late serious entry into this field and also the death of the profession. I'm therefore very encouraged that session 7 of day 3 of this important symposium will deal with the issue of capacity building with a view of luring young African statisticians in this dynamic field. I'm also aware that our own statistics authority is working with the University of KwaZulu-Natal to have curriculum developed for school teachers. The Census at Schools project has been yet another pioneering program where school children are introduced to this profound utility of measurement at a very early age. Ladies and gentlemen, insofar as how statistical information has forcefully entered government space, the National Planning Commission Commissioner Joel Nesitenze will elaborate later today the extent to which statistics has assisted us in the production of our National Development Plan. This National Development Plan is our comprehensive, overarching trajectory inspired by the injunction imposed by our former president, our icon, Nelson Mandela, on a note to the wife of our late President, Tambo Adelaide, urging us to plan thoroughly and that we can only be thorough when we use scientific evidence, and I quote, "Significant progress is always possible if we ourselves plan every detail and allow intervention of fate only on our own terms. Preparing a master plan and applying it are two different things." Close quotes. Director General Dr. Sean Phillips will tomorrow elaborate on the relevance of statistics to monitoring and evaluation. Driven by the need to safeguard this resource as a planning tool for government, I will also be keenly awaiting the contributions of our distinguished guest, Dr. Graciela Bevacqua, on the threats to the fundamental principles of official statistics. Now that we have tasted the fruit of statistical assistance in our planning, eliminating threats is a collective responsibility. In the main, final report of this symposium will provide us with further insight into this wonderful world of numbers. Delegates, while intimidating in its voluminous and copious detail, our people should be alerted to the importance of statistics as part and parcel of their daily lives. Popular acceptance of the relevance of statistics can be enhanced when we also point out to ordinary people that what they eat, drink and breathe, where they live and work, worship and study, and what their hopes, what their dreams are for their futures has to be corroborated by one form of statistics or another. As a government, we have come to appreciate what most of you gathered here today know too well, in that statistics are about people, are about places, are about possibilities. As we in government begin to utilize statistics as our basic scientific tool, indeed, it is now possible to see change and perceive of possibilities unfolding to realities of our people in their places, in their spaces of residence, in work and in play. We too in government have joined you in appreciating that statistics are about evidence, they are about use of that evidence for transforming the lives for the betterment of our people, and the symposium will help us to deal with that. This symposium is also important because more often than not, the quotation of data is dominated by sectarian spheres of economic analysis and can thus be easily viewed as a pursuit of the elite and the rich. Underplayed by the prevailing power relations in our country, the role of statistics in society in all its more than 171 releases and reports per annum needs to be given its proper space. Cognizance of these volumes, after my briefing by the Statistician General, we will need to engage further with the reconfiguration of our new department to find out as to whether capacity should not be created to assist us in making these reports and analysis part and parcel of our regular operations. Delegates, in our quest for this noble end is our story of a plan, a raft of information, and a monitoring and evaluation regime to achieve a better South Africa. Receiving our 1996 census in 1998, our iconic former President Mandela termed this monumental achievement as a portrait of the South African nation. It was the first census in a democratic South Africa, and I quote, this is what he said, "But we do at last have results with which we can work, the numbers that count for the nation. It will take time to absorb the full detail of this intricate picture of our complex society, but the broad outlines should act as a clarion call to rededicate ourselves in every sector of society to the historic mission of a generation charged with transforming South Africa's society in order to eradicate the poverty and imbalances that derive from our past." Close quotes. Following on this milestone census of 1996, we could, with a degree of scientific evidence, implement the Reconstruction and Development Program, the RDP, for our people, and in the fullness of time, as confirmed by Census 2011, the Committee 7 of 2007, and a raft of economic and financial statistics, we were comforted by the facts, and these said South Africans see their country of birth as a better place to live in than it was before 1994. Therefore, our democracy was not in vain. Today, South Africa is home to a better serviced people, with electricity accessible to more than 90% of the population, potable water access by more than 85%, and primary education being universal. Our strategies to eradicate poverty have seen more than 16 million South Africans accessing social assistance grants aimed at mitigating the consequences of our sad apartheid past. We could confirm that the debt to GDP ratio dropped from a high of 49% in 1996 to 35% in 2011. Inflation has become benign and interest rates are lower, and much fewer of our people go to bed hungry. These are measuring tools that help us shape our policies and have real bearing on the livelihood of many of South Africa's people. This in itself highlights the significance of statistics in our overall work as government, the private sector, and civil society at large.